Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Gachiakuta Season 1, Episode 9. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So first and foremost, I'm saying Gachiakuta now. I'll probably end up changing my mind yet again, but I'm only saying that because Injin says the word Octa in this episode, and that's how he pronounces it, so I don't know. I always fluctuate how I pronounce stuff, even when I hear people say it. So I still might go back to like Gachiakuta. Like it just depends on me. So I'm probably going to constantly fluctuate. But either way, I thought it was interesting when we had the the code opening where Rudo is washing both his arms and his gloves, and Rio came down because she's like, yeah, I heard like the groaning and pain, and she's like, I didn't know what was going on, which obviously for Rudo, he's only focusing on, there's a girl laying in my bed. Never had that happen before. But I think that also speaks volumes about who she is as a person, that she wanted to check on him to make sure he was okay. And she was like, oh, it's because of your arms, and he hides them. And she's like, those don't look like burns. He's like, well, you'd have to ask my a-hole parents about that. She's like, well, yeah, that's parents for you. They give you stuff, both the good and the bad, which almost make it seem like she's got some personal tales too about some bad that her parents may have given her. Maybe there's some good they gave her, but or it could be one parent gave her good while another parent gave her bad. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of interesting. The fact that she would, like, that sounds like someone saying that from personal experience. So. But yeah, we learn a lot of interesting things about the cleaners this episode. First and foremost, that there's a very specific person that makes their mask, or rather their faces, and it's very unique and stylized for each person. But the one that they're working on right now is Rudo's, but they can't rush this guy because he's very particular. Like the quality will go down crazy. Like he's an artiste in a truest sense that he has to go at his own pace. So who knows when he'll be done with Rudo's face, so we have to wait around because you need one to go into a no man's land just because of how polluted the area is there. But because they'd have to wait around for the mask, it's like, well, we'll kind of have to give you a temporary like cover for now. So they're going to go to, Canvas Town, so that the artist giver there can give him like a protective spell of sorts. We'll kind of get into that, but we see what the squad is, and they're rolling pretty deep. The way Injin explains it is that traditionally, like anytime like givers go out on their own, like they're not supposed to go out on their own. You're always supposed to have like a squad of at least 5 supporters with you. But when they're going into no man lands, it's always like we scale back how many non-powered people there are and up how many givers there are. So in this particular case, it's a squad of a total of 7 givers and 3 supporters. So it's so interesting that the squad runs that deep, but then it goes back to the question I keep having, and once again it got brought up once and we still haven't talked about it. Why the hell was Injin by himself? Because it wasn't just, oh, there's no other givers with him. He wasn't even there with a support squad. So they're not supposed, especially considering that was a no man's land, he's supposed to have at least 5 supporters with him, and he didn't. So you're like, what's up with that? What were you doing that you went solo there? That's what I find so fascinating, and that seems to be like, that's got to circle back at some point in time, because there's got to be a reason why you would do that. And the Balls haven't brought it up either, but only what's her face did, being like, why'd you do that, and never really got an answer for it. So, but I mean, maybe whatever that was, maybe that's some deal he had with the Balls. Has kind of been my running theme. I reiterate that over and over again. Sorry for regurgitating the same stuff, but either way. We also seems to be like there are divided up teams amongst the cleaners. Like we get introduced Octa, which includes Injin, Zanka, and Rio. Most likely it seems to be Rudo as well. And then there's Eager, where we met, was it Delman, and was it Tamse was his name? And then like the squad of supporters. So I'm wondering, is like Octa supposed to be like the offensive team, because it seems like they're pretty offensive team, and I'm curious if like Eager is supposed to be the more like defensive squad. I wonder, are they divided up into that? Like, are you like the front line attackers, the back line, or rear attackers, or are you on defense or evasion? Like, I'm curious to know, like, is there some, it feels like there's significance, but I mean, I guess that's no different from any like a unit being divided up into divisions, but like but they usually will serve different roles. So and I'm so curious to find out more about that. But yeah, we got a proper introduction to Delman, who is, we met him like 2 episodes ago. He's like the very big and loud guy. And he goes over to Rudo. He's like, yo, I heard about all the stuff you've been through. It's unforgivable that anyone would put you through that, but you're tough as nails getting through all of that. He's like, I admire your passion, and wants him to join Eager. But the other guy was like, come on. He's already recruited by Engine, so he's most likely going to be a part of Octa. But hey, we like people with passion over here, so. It's like, oh yeah, like Delman, it's time for one of your like big speeches. And I love, you can see Zonka put the earplugs in. He's the only one who doesn't participate because like he does his whole yell thing of, we're going to this city, we're going to do this, yeah. And he kind of rallies the troops. And I love that, once again, Zonka's not the big participant type. He's just kind of like, this is loud and annoying, and he doesn't participate. But even Rudo gets so rattled and brought, like he gets so swept up in the hype. Even he's like, yeah, by the end. So everybody's cheering. So they move out and they make their way over to the Canvas Town. Sorry. I was trying to think because I was like, man, all this graffiti looks so dope and great. And I was like, wasn't there a video game that I know? Like, was it Mark Echo revolved around graffiti? Wasn't that like a PS2 game? I think it's that old. But I was also thinking, like, I was like, for whatever reason, I was like, was there graffiti stuff in Infamous Second Son? It's been so long because I watched someone play that. I never played that myself, but I'm like trying to remember. Was there? I feel like there was. Well, wasn't Desmond? Isn't he the main protagonist of Second Son? I believe so. I could be misremembering. I'm like, wasn't he a graffiti person? I could have sworn there was someone else with like graffiti powers, but you know, like I said, I could be like combining a whole bunch of stuff in my head. So maybe that's why, but for whatever reason, I was thinking Second Son when I was like looking on at graffiti here, but that might be the reason why. But we also learned that a lot of cities here have like are under a barrier or like some kind of dome. It's because of the spear. They're constantly dumping their trash down here, and because of that, there's literally raining trash all the time. So like people who are out and about most likely get crushed to death by it. We're like, Jesus, that's sucky. Because something we haven't fully explored yet is because of the nature of the trash and stuff like this. What does that do to like the climates here, specifically like what's weather like? I mean, I'm sure like rain is probably, because I'm trying to think like, has it rained at all since Rudo's been here on the ground? I don't think it has off the top of my head, because like who knows like how the trash impacts like all the weather here, but it's probably a thing of like, like you might get like some acidic rain or something like that. That, like I said, hasn't come up yet to my recollection. I'm pretty sure it hasn't. So that's got to be like a thing of like weather hazards. I kind of combined weather and hazard. That's definitely got to be something that gets like covered in this world. And I mean, especially because the effect it has on like the atmosphere, and I mean in general, but also just like certain probably biomes are affected differently than others. Like some places like probably run a little hotter, some might even run colder. Like I'm sure you get like a range of environments and stuff like that, or maybe the planes of the ground are pretty much consistent all around because of the level of trash. I don't know. I'm interested to kind of dive into, I guess you can be like the ecological standings of the ground. I think it's something to be really interesting to kind of get more in depth. And there's plenty of room and time to fully explore that, I'm sure. And there was a part of Rudo kind of feeling bad, I think, as someone from the spear. But it's like, to be fair, you're not responsible for any of the trash. Like, that's the other side of society, which even something like, was it Tamsin was kind of like, no, don't even worry about it. Like, we don't blame you, because it's like, yeah, the people up there is kind of an issue, and obviously you weren't a part of a society that was kind of built around, so. But what's really interesting is when they're trying to go into the city, there's these two guys trying to get in, but they're like, no, we can't get in. Like, it looks like the doors are open, and the guy tries to go like, what are you talking about? The other guy goes like, wait, there's like an invisible wall here. At first I was like, wait, did they go full like, and I don't know if this is supposed to be a reference to that, but I was like, did you go full Looney Tunes here? And it's like, oh, it looks like a real entrance, but it's fake. But in traditional sense, like the Roadrunner can use it, even though Wile E. Coyote can't, type of thing. But it's like, it's based around your intentions. If you have ill intention trying to come into the city, you can't come and, but if you're chill, you can come and go as you please. And so that was really interesting, especially when Engine kind of explains like the artist they're coming to see is very unique in the regards that basically their power allows them to add a command to art. So he's like, yo, the doorway is like that was drawn by the artist and it was given the command of, yo, if you're cool, you can come and go. If you're not, you can't come into the city. And that kind of made me ask the question later on, and we don't have an answer to this. I'm curious, can you overwrite those commands or are they absolute? I mean, I guess like if it's a one-off command, it probably disappears eventually, like after it's served its purpose. But like, I guess there's some like commands that are like lifelong commands. So I'm wondering like, is there a limit to them? Do you have to re-up them? And like I said, for example, the entrance, could you overwrite that command to make it so like the artist could be like, anyone can come in now? Or is it like you can't? Like once you've given it a command, it's the command for life until it's fully served its purpose, unless it's a continuous purpose that continues forever. So that's what I'm curious about. Because it almost made me feel like there's a little bit of a parallel you can draw between that ability and Rudo's ability of how he can like basically bring an object's like purpose to life. I feel like there is a little bit of like overlap. It's not a one-to-one, but I feel like there is some Venn diagram of overlap between those abilities, which I think is kind of interesting. But yeah, this city has become the place that all artists gather to kind of like have the freedom to kind of draw stuff. It is this entire city is their canvas, hence the name. And so while they're walking, they end up running into a kid we later on find out his name is Rimlin. And the mayor pops up and he tells them that Gob is dead. And it's kind of sad because Rudo met them like a couple episodes back. That was like episode 3 or 4. They were the person drawing on the wall. And that's their thing. Like, they're very free-spirited. They come and go and draw all the time. And they're the person that was supposed to cast the quote-unquote spell on Rudo. And so that person died. Apparently, like, you know, a pretty common death down here is dying from the pollution. And most likely went into a no man's land, no mask or anything. It's just he gets so caught up in his mode of artistry, he kind of ignores that stuff. And the mayor's like, I told him all the time to wear a mask, to be protected about that stuff, but he was very free spirited in that regard. And the kid that's crying, Remlin, is like a sibling to them, and it was like, you know, and is also the successor, because Engine had touched on this specifically when he was like, yo, like the person we're going to see, like their vital instruments of a rare breed, even though it's not theirs per se. I was like, as in, and it's like, yeah, to get explained, it's passed down. It's a very rare situation where a vital instrument is passed down, which is so interesting because we know they're very personal items. But in this case, it's about if someone with high enough potential as a giver is given a vital instrument, they can fully awaken their abilities then and there. So that's how this whole thing has worked. Gob isn't the first one. He was preceded by someone and he succeeded them, and now someone's going to succeed him, as in Remlin, and eventually someone will succeed Remlin. It's just been this thing, and I'm so curious to know how lengthy has that history been. Like, how many people preceded Gob? So I thought that was such a fascinating like thing to kind of learn about this world, and once again to know that it can work like that. It's not common, it's super rare, but it is really interesting. Like I said, it's based around, and even Philo was talking about how, you know, like if you have high enough potential, you know, and obviously you know how that kind of makes him feel a little awkward because he, you know, he has the potential to be a giver, but it's also like it hasn't happened for him yet, so it strikes for some earlier than it does others. So he's just still waiting for his chance and opportunity. But, you know, Engine and them were often saw Gob enough. And obviously Rudo only saw him the once, but saw like how captivated he was. As Rudo feels the way he does about garbage, it's like the same way like he felt, I think, something from like the artistry that Gob performed. It's like there's something there and that sparks something with him. And just to know like this is someone you met once and they're gone. Because I'm sure for Rudo, he's never like contented with death in the same way. You know, this is the first time he's met anyone here on the ground that is dead. Now it's like, oh, because he thought Gris was, but Gris is luckily alive. But now it's like, oh, here's someone that died. Wasn't by the hands of, a raider or anything like it would have been in Gris's case if he had died. It's like, no, just the natural state of what this world is. And knowing, like, the place you come from is the reason why this world is as fucked up as it is. So I'm sure that complicates things too. But also, because when he's looking at that, I'm sure it just makes him think about, like, having lost someone important to you. He was Rimlin, still is, like, having still suffered the pain of losing someone you've lost and not being able to ever. He's had never had a chance to properly mourn, Recto either. He just kind of had to keep pushing and moving forward. So the mayor is telling them, like, you'll probably have to wait a while. It's going to take some time for Rimlin to kind of step up. I mean, it's like whoever ends up being the artist ends up basically being the spokesperson for the city. And it's like Rimlin is a child having to bear that responsibility as head. You're basically, I'm the mayor, but you basically lead the city. And so Rimlin kind of snaps out of it because it's like, no more dark stuff. It's like, if I want to let Gob rest in peace, then we can't be drowning in all the sad stuff. We can't be moping around. We got to party and celebrate. So Rimlin takes, like, what appears to be like the marker or the brush, and then, like, went up to the top of the building, transformed it and awakened as a giver, and drew, like, the circle, and then, like, set off all these paint cans to pop off like fireworks. And it's like, right, let's party, and yells it out to the entire city, and everyone kind of joins in. Everyone's doing their own art. It's like, this will be our way. Instead of, like, drowning in the death of someone, it's time to celebrate them. And like I said, Rudo has never been able to kind of properly, like, celebrate or even mourn Recto. And in this moment, and seeing all of that, the celebration that Rimlin gave for Gob, it feels like, it just makes him think about Recto in that regard. So I just thought that was kind of nice, and how that you could see it, like, that sparkle, it lights something up in Rudo's eyes. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, whether or not Rudo gets his, like, quote unquote magic protection next episode or not. It just depends on whether they, like, leave afterwards. But this was, like, a profound thing for Rudo, and that's, I think, a part of this too, of, like, his growth and his experiencing things, just in general for the first time in life. And also that this all happens away from, like, the home he's always known on the spear. Here on the ground, there's so many lessons and so many things that he's learning and experiencing and growing from. So it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us with all this. I also want to note, I love this show's musical choices. I love some of, like, the background music that's sprinkled in throughout this episode. I really like. So yeah, I'm really really interested to see what happens next. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.